our workshop for October 23rd, 2018. I remind my colleagues to please silence all electronic devices at this time. We do not have a closed session this evening, but we do have 3 workshops, and 2 of them may be very lengthy. If we don't have time before our scheduled break at 5:30, then we will reconvene into workshop format after our formal meeting, and we will do that in this room. We'll come back to this room for that workshop. And just for your information, I was informed yesterday that our school division has entered 2 entries for the National School Boards Association Magna Awards. This year, the competition focuses on equity, so one of our entries is for our Excellence Through Equity Conference that we started and is attended by school divisions across the region. And our second entry is our extended feeding program that enables students in need to receive meals throughout the day and in the summer so that they have their essentials taken care of and can focus on learning. The third thing that I have is I'm going to pass around these forms like this, and this is the form for the NSBA National Conference that's held usually in March. I think it's March 30th to April 1st. And so I'm passing this around, and Ms. Alexander has asked that if you intend to go to this, to please return the form to her by 11/27. And if you are doing this, you would make your own flight arrangements and submit the receipt for reimbursement down the road. So,
It's in Philadelphia. Yeah.
it's in Philadelphia, correct. So I'm going to pass these
So a train would be more appropriate.
through. I'll have some going each way. How's that?
Car.
If you want
Work hard.
if you want to pay $50 to park it here.
So does anyone else have anything to share during this time?
Yes.
Ms. Felton?
I'd just like to share that another great night for the Navigating the Journey event. Wonderful. It was well received, well attended by students, and Principal Johnson again brought over more than 100 students, or 200 plus more that were there that night. It was really great. I enjoyed the moment, getting to see all of our other added things that we have in the division. So many, I cannot begin to name all of them. But it was a great event. Also, I had the opportunity to be with Creeds Elementary, come fly with us at the Creeds Elementary 3rd Annual Aviation Journey and Challenge, and it was really great. It was put together by Principal Conger, and this time 20 other elementary schools participated as well.
Wow.
And it was great listening to 4th graders telling us how to fly and all the components of how to fly and what that was about. But I would like to say thank you to our partnership with the Military Aviation Museum that is out there, and a big thank you to Mr. Joe Badali. And again, Mr. Badali is the Education Outreach Coordinator for that as well. And I'd like to thank Principal Kanya for including other elementary schools this year, and it's going to grow even to greater bounds on next year.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Rye?
Real quick, my quick postscript to the Navigating the Journey is that I've heard from families I generally don't hear from about anything, just raving about it. And they were parents of kids of all ages. You know, there were kids, even like 4th graders I ran into with their parents. And just a shout out to Tony and his crew for the second groundbreaking ceremony. To have 2 in 1 in the span of 4 weeks is pretty special, and I'm sure there'll be more mentioned about that later today or at the public meeting, but the thoroughfare groundbreaking, thank you.
Right, that was an event, a momentous occasion. Anyone else? All right, Dr. Spence, we are ready for our first workshop.
I'm going to turn it right over to Farrell. This should be a really informative workshop for you all. I know you've had lots of questions about our health and benefits programs, and this is probably more information than you'll be able to digest, but we'll do our best to make that possible. So Farrell.
Will it be online?
Yes, it will be. It'll be available on the school board site.
This is when I need bifocals.
I have them.
I can't see it, it's not coming
And you, older.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Anderson, Vice Chair McDonald, school board members, and Dr. Spence. We appreciate the opportunity to make this presentation to you today. We have a lot of information to share with you, and the goal is that you'll learn a lot and be much better informed regarding our employee healthcare program and our employees' benefits that are available to them. This presentation covers a lot of subject matter, some of which is complex. Therefore, we'll break the presentation up into 3 parts. We'll pause at the end of each part and ask you for any questions that you might have. As you know, the Consolidated Benefits Office provides administration and services to our school employees, city employees, and retirees, which number over 19,000 folks. Linda Matkins is our director of the Consolidated Benefits Office, and I'm going to turn the presentation over to Linda at this time. Can you get it?
Uh-oh, what happened?
Well, that's interesting.
Still there.
I don't
Come
know
on.
what got up there.
Come on.
We'll see that.
Yeah, we can pretty much see that one. Uh-oh, those are awful. Those are awful.
One of these days, this thing can be fixed.
We can see up behind you.
I think Diane was gonna try to get something fixed as well. Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you all about our employee benefits. We'll go ahead and take a look at our agenda. So this afternoon, we're gonna take a look at the health plans and review other plans offered, tools and resources available, review programs within Be Well, talk about strategies to provide quality and control cost, and discuss plan management, claims and contributions, and review a comparison to other divisions. Virginia Beach Schools offers a comprehensive benefits package to employees. Health and dental are available to retirees, and the Be Well program is available to retirees on our health plan. Health and pharmacy is offered through Optima Health with over 12,000 active city and school employees, which represents around 78% of the total eligible, and over 1,200 retirees. There are approximately 24,000 people on our plan, and throughout the presentation, if I'm referring to all individuals on the plan, I'll call them members. Vision coverage with iMed is offered through the health plan, and stop loss is covered through Voya Financial, which we'll discuss later. Be Well is our internal wellness program. Flexible spending accounts are offered for medical and dependent care with WageWorks, and employees may contribute pre-tax $26.50 to medical and $5,000 to dependent care. A health savings account with Health Equity is available to those in the standard and the basic point service plans. The single subscriber limit is $3,500 for the HSA plan, and dependent tiers is $7,000, and there's a $1,000 age catch-up for those that are 55 and older. In 2019, those enrolled in the basic point of service plan will receive a $500 employer contribution for single subscriber and $1,000 for the dependent tiers. We also, advanced too quickly. We offer a legal plan and identity theft protection with legal resources, an employee assistance program and work-life balance through Humana, and dental coverage with MetLife. We have over 12,000 city and school actives on our plan and nearly 3,500 retirees. And the reason for there's a high retiree enrollment on the dental plan is that we offer this to Medicare eligible retirees at this time, but we are looking to implement a Medicare marketplace where these retirees can choose from several dental plan options. We offer long-term disability coverage through Prudential, and that's available to VRS Plan 1 and Plan 2 employees, and retirement savings plans with a 457 defined contribution plan through Empower Retirement and through the Commonwealth of Virginia, and 403B tax sheltered annuities. We have 10 vendors at this time and didn't have space for them. Basic life is provided, and optional life insurance is available through Minnesota Life.
And our pension and health insurance credit is through the Virginia Retirement System, with hybrid employees having access to the Virginia Local Disability Plan that provides short-term disability, long-term disability, and long-term care. So in addition to the plans that are offered, there are many tools and resources available to assist employees and retirees with managing their health and financial well-being. This information that we're going to show represents some of the electronic tools that are available via web or mobile access. The Health Plan Comparison Tool on the Benefit Focus platform allows employees and retirees to compare their health plans. It will show not only their premiums, but the expected out-of-pocket costs using their own prior year claims data to model the cost. The online benefits enrollment platform with Benefit Focus also provides 24/7 access on the web or through their mobile app to elect and review their benefits. For wellness activities, the Virgin Pulse app allows employees to earn incentives through engaging in wellness activities through disease management programs, biometric measures, activity trackers, challenges, and other healthy activities. The Flexible Spending Account site or app with WageWorks allows employees to view their accounts, upload documentation to substantiate their claims, and provides resources like a link to an FSA store and educational videos. The Health Savings Account site or app with Health Equity allows employees to view claims and pay providers, much like a bank's bill pay. It also allows employees to invest dollars if they have a balance of greater than $2,000. The Treatment Cost Calculator is a tool provided by Optima Health that lets employees shop for services. By entering a type of procedure, it will give you average cost, and then it will also show you the cost by the facility. The pharmacy tool, also provided by Optima Health, allows employees to view drug cost and understand alternative lower-cost drug options that employees can discuss with their doctor to determine if it's an option for them. And the Virginia Retirement System site provides access to employee accounts, videos, calculators, and financial tools to assist in planning and saving for retirement. Other resources are offered by the Consolidated Benefits Office through counseling, educational events, communication materials, and through the use of health stations. Our office provides counseling to employees and retirees regarding their retirement and their employee benefits. We offer seminars, events, and classes that are conducted by our office staff or through our vendors. This includes topics such as benefits enrollment, diabetes education, financial planning, student loan forgiveness, and wellness classes. Our communication resources include websites, newsletters, videos, and guides to educate our employees and retirees. And we have health stations through Virgin Pulse, where employees and retirees can validate their weight and blood pressure measurements and utilize the iPad to access that Virgin Pulse site, as well as other sites like Benefit Focus and Optima Health. The wellness program, also known as Be Well, was recently redesigned in 2016 with our partnership with Virgin Pulse. It is an engaging platform that performs much like social media, and it creates a culture of healthy behaviors. Employees and retirees can earn points for doing activities that are shown here, like tracking steps with fitness devices, taking a health risk assessment, tracking healthy habits, learning about financial wellness, and getting recommended cancer screenings. Points accumulate quarterly and then reset, and the most that employees and retirees can earn in a quarter is $125 for an annual amount of $500. Employees and retirees can cash out to a gift card, donate funds, put the money in their bank account, or purchase items from the online store. We have been experiencing success in this program every year, and currently our enrollment is 67%, and of those, the engagement rate is 65%, which does exceed Virgin Pulse's book of business. The Virgin Pulse platform incorporates our own wellness programming that we had prior to implementing Virgin Pulse that we offer through our other vendors like the disease management programs and cancer screenings that can be obtained through medical providers. All of these activities earn points through the Virgin Pulse platform. We also offer additional programs, services, and education through our Be Well program. We offer an employee assistance program for behavioral health counseling and a work-life balance plan that provides services and resources to help employees navigate everyday life. Get help finding a daycare provider, find athletic tickets, or find a handyman for house repairs. It actually provides an array of services and resources. We offer flu vaccine clinics and biometric health screenings and other Be Well classes. And to educate employees, we work with a group of Be Well champions that help to promote wellness in their work sites. We provide on-site education as needed and develop educational materials as well. So I'd like to stop here for a moment to see if there are any questions with what we have gone over so far. Yes.
On the Delta Dental, you
Yes.
mentioned that,
It's MetLife.
I'm sorry, it's MetLife. I knew that. But you mentioned that you're looking at, looking for the people who are Medicare eligible, you're looking for another plan for that. Can you explain what would be the purpose of that, of
Yes.
not having those people? I mean,
Sure.
what are the implications of that to the entire system? And
Sure. So right now, the retirees, when they become Medicare eligible, or they're becoming Medicare eligible, or even actives that are already Medicare eligible when they leave the division, we do offer classes that's Medicare and You, and try to get them to understand. We invite Social Security, and so they can understand that. But they're still kind of left on their own. We do also offer a resource at Senior Services of Hampton Roads, which is a nonprofit-free counseling, but they have limited resources as well, depending on the time of year, especially during the Medicare open enrollment period. So what this Medicare marketplace that we're looking to implement, will be issuing a RFP to look for these services. But what they do is if we give them census data, they start looking and reaching out to people that are 6 months in advance of their becoming Medicare, so that they can start to, it's a big change and a lot to understand and absorb. So these people counsel with them, and they are trained to deal with, kind of hand-holding people through the process to help them select a Medicare plan. So I think their average is about 3 touch points from that 6 months out, and helping them understand it, helping them select a plan. They look at their, pharmacy to pick the Part D plan, and then at the same time they could help them select a dental plan. So we felt like that whole transition will be a benefit and service to our retirees, whereas today we just send them a letter and they kind of go select their plan. So we felt like it was an added service that we felt like we needed to offer.
but my point is, what is the point of asking them, not allowing them to continue with their dental? I mean, how is that affecting us adversely, that we have Medicare eligible people who are retirees who still are on our dental plan? Is there a drawback to that? Is it costing us extra money?
The only drawback, we have around 1,200, a little more, on our health plan. We have 3,500 on dental. It is a growing population. When we implemented the Benefit Focus platform, we did put retirees on there, but because we pay, part of the implementation of the Benefit Focus online platform was not only education for employees about what are your benefit offerings, make sure you understand what's available to you, but it was also to model the health plan. So you can figure out, based on your claims cost, what's the best plan for you. So we do pay a per member per month cost for that platform. So to put retirees that are on dental only, that really don't have any education, that they would learn from it, there's no modeling of cost for the health plan, it didn't make sense to pay a per member per month cost for these additional 2,200 retirees, and so we left them off. So we do handle them by paper still. So just from a resources perspective, really would be the additional cost.
So it's not that much additional, then, you would say? Because the reason I'm bringing this up is that the last time, 2 years ago, when we said we were going to take them off, I got emails galore from retirees who this was going to affect, and they were just all of a sudden not going to have dental, and they were really upset. So, I fought to keep them on this system. Mm-hmm. And if it's not that much of a financial burden on us, then I see no reason into kicking them off at this point,
We can evaluate that when we do the RFP process, because we do feel like they need a resource to be counseled into Medicare. And there are Medicare dental plans now too, where some of our retirees are just dropping our plan anyway because they have that option there. So I think it's certainly something that we'll compare the plans when we get them and look at them and
Okay.
see what makes sense.
All right, I appreciate that.
Can you just briefly explain what the age catch-up?
Yes, so in a health savings account, and this works like in the 403Bs too, but after you, in the year that you turn age 55, so right now the contribution limit, I can't remember what it was for employee only, is around 3,500, and then 7,000 for if you have more than dependent tiers, basically, if you're enrolled in a dependent tier. So the max is 7,000, but if you are age 55 or older, you can contribute another $1,000 up to 8,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Thank you for this presentation. In your tools and resources, I'm looking at page 6. You talked about the seminars, events, and classes
Yes.
concerning, and then embedded in there, you list a lot of things, but one I see is student loan forgiveness. How often is this program given, and are they taking advantage of that particular part?
Yes, we just started offering this. I think we didn't even know, but one of our vendors offers that. We are actually getting in the middle of doing an RFP for a 403B plan, and that is something that we would expect this new vendor that we select for 403Bs to provide that as well. But in the meantime, VALIC is providing those. We've only had a couple, but they are always well attended. A lot of our classes are very well attended. People really appreciate that opportunity. It is certainly a subject that our folks need to hear about.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Ms. Williams?
Yeah, with the legal resources, besides identity theft protection, what is the main resource for the legal plan?
So
And is
the-
there a fee for that for the employee?
Yes, it is a plan that you sign up for during open enrollment like you would other plans. I think it's $17 a month, is that right? And it provides services like wills and trust, or if you need a court appearance, helping with tickets if you refinance a house. So it offers a lot of those services where then you don't have a fee when you go to do that. And then the identity theft protection, they have two levels. One is basic, which is more monitoring and providing resources and letters and tools and that type of thing. But then the I don't know what it's called, but the greater identity theft plan is actually restoration. So if you actually had your identity stolen, it would actually go to, help you with court and all of that and type to restore it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I don't see any other questions at this time.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about health plan strategies. In addition to providing the resources and engaging wellness program that we discussed, we must also implement health plan strategies to manage our costs while continuing to provide a quality health plan. We continually look for strategies to provide greater quality of care, enhanced plan management, greater education, and programs to meet the needs of our employees and retirees. Here and in the next several slides, we provide a brief description of these services. The Centera Quality Care Network is a narrow network of providers, referred to as Sequin. They engage in collaboration with other providers to improve quality and delivery of healthcare services that would lead to greater efficiency in care delivery and cost savings. And approximately 60% of our members, which is everyone enrolled on our health plan, sees a Sequin primary care doctor. Progeny Health is a neonatal intensive care unit case management program. It hasn't begun yet. We've implemented this for 2019. That ensures evidence-based protocols are used to improve the health outcomes of these medically complex newborns. These premature infants can spend months in the hospital, and claims in these cases have exceeded $2 million. So we do look forward to the value that this program will bring for these families. Accordant Care is a rare chronic disease management program that assists members with certain diseases to manage their complex conditions, like epilepsy, Parkinson's, hemophilia. And these members often have comorbidities, so therefore the managing their condition can become complex and requires special care. There are nearly 500 members on our plan with a rare chronic disease. We have implemented several pharmacy management strategies, as pharmacy accounts for 25% of our total claims cost. A specialty drug management program was implemented where specialty drugs that typically require special handling, disposal, and monitoring, they are often self-injectable drugs, and members receive support and education on the use of these drugs to manage their condition. And in 2017, because we don't have a full year yet, 44% of our pharmacy spend was attributed to specialty drugs. Also in pharmacy, we have a preferred pharmacy with Walgreens, Walmart, and Sam's Club. The pharmacy benefits manager for Optima Health, which is OptumRx, they worked with these pharmacies to provide lower drug costs, and members pay lower copays when they get prescriptions filled at these pharmacies. And in 2017, 56% of our prescriptions were filled through a preferred pharmacy. A closed formulary was implemented where certain drugs are excluded if they are not found to have greater effectiveness than lower cost drugs in the same drug class. There were about 562 drugs out of 11,000 that were excluded from the formulary. And we have generic utilization requirements that require generics to be filled when available. And if a brand is dispensed, the member will pay the copay in addition to the difference in the cost of the drug. But we do have nearly 90% of our drug spend is generic utilization. Additional plan strategies include the treatment cost calculator. This was mentioned earlier, which allows members to research costs for procedures and then compare them by providers. And the pharmacy tool that was also mentioned earlier allows members to search drug costs and then learn about lower cost options to discuss with their provider. Understanding costs will help employees and retirees become better consumers of healthcare. Telemedicine is a telehealth network provider through MD Live that allows members to speak with a doctor over the phone to obtain certain services, when appropriate, and they can prescribe medication if it's deemed necessary. This service provides convenience and it may avoid urgent care and emergency room visits. Strategies involving plan management include a claims audit that is conducted annually under the direction of the city auditor through a third-party consultant, Healthcare Horizons, where they audit the payment of claims for accurate processing of payments. Healthcare Horizons annually cites that Optima Health performs above average in their claims payment with a 0.1% error rate. The Consolidated Benefits Office conducts an ongoing dependent audit where we require documentation to prove legal dependency when the dependent's last name is different from the employee or retiree. We also implemented a spousal coverage limitation where spouses are ineligible for our plan if they have access to their own employer group coverage. We discussed the Virgin Pulse platform earlier and continue to implement wellness initiatives to bring about healthier choices and improved health outcomes for employees and retirees. As mentioned earlier, we have an engagement rate of 65%, so we believe that employees and retirees are becoming more educated on healthy behaviors. For educational strategies include the online mandatory enrollment platform. It is proven to provide greater awareness of other benefit offerings, as we mentioned, and has contributed to the increase in enrollment in these voluntary plans and increases in retirement savings contributions. Our enrollment, again, is not complete for this year, but last year, school employees only, there was a 57% increase in 457 contributions, 137% increase in HSA contributions, 77% increase in the legal plan, and 53% in the FSA plans. And from over the 10,000 employees and retirees that enrolled as of yesterday, 91% either strongly agreed or agreed that the enrollment experience was quick and easy this year, made a lot of changes, and 48% strongly agreed or agreed that they learned something about their benefit during the enrollment process. The Health Plan Comparison Tool within the Benefit Focus platform also provides education that allows employees and retirees to compare plans. We discussed this, but the platform incorporates the employees and retirees' prior year claims data, so it is not only their premiums, but it's looking at their total out-of-pocket costs if they have similar claims experience from the last year. And the data from last year, enrollment grew in the standard, in the basic plan, from 15% to 33%. So it is becoming a little more understood and enrollment in that plan.
Can I stop you right there just for a second?
Sure.
Because tomorrow is the deadline
Yes, it is.
for enrollment. And so we were having a discussion earlier about whether we needed to get on online to renew dental.
Yes, so employees or school board members that are enrolled as employees and retirees that are pre-Medicare eligible must enroll on the platform by 5 o'clock tomorrow. But those Medicare eligible dental that we were talking about that are not on the platform, they do not have to make an election. If they're in their dental, gold or silver, they just stay there and they do not need to make an election. But everyone else, it is a positive enrollment to make an election.
So if you're an employee, you need to go online.
Yes. Okay. And 2019 strategies. Optima Health has launched a data analytics tool that will allow us to determine our claims data, where we need to make changes or develop programs to enhance services to our members. We're looking forward to that. We have also engaged our consultant Mercer to conduct a pharmacy audit to ensure payments are consistent with their contractual agreements. And Mercer will also be doing a clinical assessment of our case management program through Optima to ensure services are meeting evidence-based standards. So this list, probably can't see it on the screen. It provides a list of initiatives mentioned that have been implemented to manage the cost and quality of our plan over the past 10 years. And it's actually not a comprehensive list, but it's rather meant to demonstrate how strategies are considered every year. And a full list of all of the historical plan changes are actually in the appendix. So, do we have any questions about strategies?
Miss Manning.
I love the telemedicine initiative. Is that included in the plan or is that an extra cost?
It is included in the plan.
Awesome, great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
So, taking a closer look at health plan management, the health plan is administered by the Consolidated Benefits Office and has executive leadership oversight through the Benefits Executive Committee. We also receive expert consulting and actuarial services through Mercer and legal advice from Marjorie Smith in the City Attorney's Office. Our plan costs are driven by all of the items shown here, and the first bullet under cost is self-insured claims. It's important to understand self-insurance when looking at our plan cost and comparing to other groups. We do have a self-insured plan, which means that we assume the financial risk of the claims experience, which is about $134 million for city and schools. Employee and retiree premiums and the employer contribution is held by the schools in a health fund, and we submit payments to Optima Health for weekly claims payments to be paid to the medical providers. The fee that we pay Optima Health to administer our self-insured plan is a monthly per employee or retiree amount. Optima does not determine our premiums, we don't pay the premiums to Optima, and our costs are not grouped with other plans. The cost that our members incur through services is what drives our cost. And in order to protect us from catastrophic claims, since we are assuming the risk, we do have a stop-loss insurance plan with Voya that covers claims costs when an amount for a member exceeds $600,000 in a plan year. This data from Mercer shows how our plan has performed over the years. It is doing quite well if you look at the bullets at the top. And it would indicate that our strategies and initiatives are making a difference, but we must continue to monitor and implement best practices in order to maintain this trend. This provides a look at employee increases over the years, and this is just looking at employees and not retirees. Keep in mind when looking at these increases against the claims trend in the prior slide that our consultant is projecting costs over a year in advance before the rates are set. So that means that they don't even have claims experience from the current year in order to project out into the future. So basically the year that we had good claims experience may not seem to translate to the increases in premiums for that year, if that makes sense. This chart shows the total contribution and the breakdown between employee and retiree contributions and the employer contributions. It also demonstrates the years in which there was a reduction or a surplus in the healthcare fund. For example, in fiscal years 12 and 13, there was an intentional spend down of the monies in the health fund to avoid increases in employee and retiree premiums in those years. This information from Mercer provides a look ahead for projections in 2019 for city and schools total cost. And you can see here where the claims are expected to be $134 million, that first line item. Here we are comparing a sample of our plan design to other divisions. We are never able to compare apples to apples, our plan costs to other municipalities and school divisions, because the plan designs are different, the employer contributions are different, the frequency of deductions are different, the cost of other divisions, what they incorporate into their total claim costs are different, and of course, the utilization of services are different. All of these other divisions are also self-insured. So remember, we're not comparing a premium that a health plan offered to one of us versus the other. All of our costs are driven by our own plan's experience. From the information we're able to obtain from these divisions, it would appear that our plan design is fairly similar to most. This compares our costs, the employer contributions, their annual cost, and the resulting employee cost for the highest cost plan of all of these divisions. All divisions don't offer 5 tiers like our plan, so in most cases, an employee in the other divisions that don't have the 5 tiers would pay more for covering one child, for example. And the level of employer contribution varies by division. Our total annual costs are fairly similar to all divisions, except for Chesapeake Schools, where they are showing a much higher total annual cost for employee only and a much lower total cost for family. So as you can see, their costs are spread across their population. And they provide the same employer contribution for all tiers and at a much higher rate than we do or other divisions. Out of curiosity, I took our school active enrollment from September of 2018 against our 2019 rates, or the employer contribution rather, and it was 59.3 million. I then took those same enrollment numbers and multiplied it by Chesapeake Schools' employer contribution, and it was $88.7 million. So that's a difference of $29.4 million. So we can't just look at how much employees are paying, but basically how we get to that number. As mentioned, we can't compare apples to apples, but we do have this claims comparison data from our Optima Health September quarterly review that indicates our costs are lower than Optima's self-insured book of business and their municipality and school division's book of business. That includes the City of Chesapeake, the City of Norfolk, Norfolk Public Schools, and Portsmouth Public Schools. We believe that the strategies implemented are playing a role in this positive outcome, like the Sequin Network, the pharmacy initiatives, the Virgin Pulse platform, and the health plan comparison tool with Benefit Focus, for example. So in closing, I want to remind you that all of the healthcare strategies are in the appendix, and the presentation will be on the Consolidated Benefits Office website, and we're pleased to let you know that school board members were recently given access to the Consolidated Benefits Office website through a link on the school board's member SharePoint site. And then I was going to remind you all that open enrollment does close tomorrow at 5 p.m. And then those board members that are newly elected or re-elected for 2019 should elect coverage after the election for 2019.
And Madam Chairman, before we get to the questions, in addition to putting this presentation on the benefits website, we will have Diane put the presentation with our notes, because Linda talked a lot to you and gave you a lot of information that were not included in the slide. So we thought that might be helpful to you if you wanted to refer back to anything. We hope this will be a good tool for you.
Okay. Any other questions? Don't see any.
Okay, great.
Thank you, very thorough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda. Thank you.
We're ready.
Chairwoman Anderson, I've neglected. I'd like to introduce the Lauren Heath and Colleen Norman. They're benefits coordinators. They're here. They were here to back us up and we can answer any questions.
Thank you.
But I wanted you to know that they're here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You ready?
I'm ready.
So we're just, I will say, I will add this, so I want to make sure that the significance of that $30 million number that she mentioned, that made sense to you, so that is the additional dollars that Chesapeake invests in its healthcare plan for its employees in order to get the rates to where they are for their employees. So I know you get questions a lot about Chesapeake's rates.
Yes.
It's a $30 million additional investment on part of the school board.
So do they take that from their total budget? And they take
Yeah, I think
30
it
million,
comes out of their operating
Sure.
fund. Yeah.
all their operating fund?
Yeah.
And
Do you know
so,
how many
I don't know
employees
how
they
much
have?
they spend. I was just using their employer contribution and multiplying it by our enrollment. So they don't have as much enrollment that we do,
Right.
but it's just to represent that if we gave the same thing they did, it would
Correct.
cost us.
It would cost us $30 million to provide a
oh,
similar.
I see.
I see.
Okay.
Does that make
Oh,
sense?
yes.
So it's not like they actually put in 30 million, but it's,
Well, no, they have-
that's what it would cost us.
Yeah, they have about half the employers.
That's what I meant.
Okay,
employees.
all right.
Thank you for that clarification.
It's just schools, not their city.
Right, and that's only for school employees, right?
Correct.
Because they are not linked with the city as we are.
Correct.
Correct.
So this next item, the board will remember we had a conversation about an environmental studies program in 2017, I want to say.
Right.
And there was some enthusiasm for that, and we had been asked for and gotten some direction to proceed with planning on that, and then we ran into a conversation about the capital investment for the classroom. And so we have gone back and done some work around that, and we want to revisit the conversation with you tonight. And so we're gonna, Dr. Rogers is gonna present. He's gonna remind you what we talked about, and then give you some updates on this conversation. So, Kip.
I hope if I can find out how to work this.
Don't ask me.
I know.
Where's Bernard? Bernard like knows this thing inside out.
That was with the Brock Center, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was enthusiastic for it. Me too.
Well, you might be
You
in for
can
some.
rekindle that.
Good. There's only one other in the country like
You'll
it,
see,
correct?
you'll see. Just listen.
I don't think there's anything really like it in the country. Just another program like it within a school.
Will be the Trailblazers.
That's always a good thing, isn't it? It's a good way to leave a mark.
Which left?
Me?
Okay, great. You can see it.
Can't see you.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello, come on, Kip, come on.
I know.
Pressure's on.
There we go. That's stuff going on.
Right. That was unkind.
He knows what that is.
He knows we're just teasing.
Yay.
Good stuff. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Anderson, board members, Dr. Spence. I am delighted to join you this afternoon to revisit a conversation or discussion from the 2016 school year around the development of a very exciting environmental studies program that's to be housed at the Brock Environmental Center. In today's presentation, we'll cover some things about the purpose of the program, the long-standing relationship that we've had with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, otherwise known as CBF, student opportunities that are available within this area of study, and an overview of the program as well as the facility plans in with the program. I want to thank Dr. James Pohl, who is not here today, the Executive Director of Secondary Teaching and Learning, as well as Amanda Melvin, who is also here to answer some of the questions that you may have with regards to the program. So I appreciate their work, as do all of us at Central Office. So we'll move forward. So as a reminder of the information that was presented during the last presentation, the goal of the program is to provide our students with the real-world applicable learning opportunities that they would not be able to obtain otherwise during their high school experience. And the driver behind this work is a focus on what's referred to as 3 pillars of sustainability, or what's referred to as the triple bottom line. That's social, economic, and environmental impacts on sustainability. And the principle of the triple bottom line says that for the complete sustainability problem to be solved, all 3 pillars of sustainability must be sustainable. And of the 3 pillars, the most important is environmental sustainability. So if environmental sustainability is not solved, then no matter how hard we try, the other pillars cannot be made strong because they are dependent on the greater system they live within, and that's the environment. So the focus of this program is primarily scientific research for our students. The key drivers of successful learning environments for the 21st century, as we all know, emphasizes the role of the modern learner, educators, both content as well as the resources that they have access to. So as such, in this program, students in their junior year will participate in experiential learning, and during their senior year, they'll actually have an opportunity to conduct an independent research project that mirrors the type of learning students obtain in similar programs at the collegiate level. So this program is in direct alignment with our graduate profile that talks about preparing students to be problem solvers, thinkers, and inquirers. And when we provide our students with opportunities to construct knowledge firsthand, we are giving them the tools that they need to be future ready. So let's talk about our long-standing partnership that we've had with CBF. It's been about a 20-year partnership with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, where our students starting in elementary school have opportunities to participate in field trips, speakers, and have other learning opportunities that are designed to enrich the curriculum as well as their learning experiences. This fundamental partnership continues into middle school and thrives in our high schools. And as you can see on the slide in front of you, our curriculum capitalizes on this partnership to create rich learning opportunities for students as well as for teachers. And the images on the slide are of our teachers learning during our summer PLPs and environmental literacy institutes that we have in partnership with the CBF. In fact, the culminating activity for our last grant with the CBF took place this past summer, where teachers created PD for secondary science teachers in the division on integrating environmental science and sustainability into all of their classes. So some of the innovative learning design activities that we've had. In traditional classrooms, ongoing inquiry projects with one teacher can often be limited due to resources and time. However, partnering with our students with experts in the field opens the doors to so many more personalized learning experiences that our students wouldn't otherwise have. So innovative schools across the country are redefining what schools look like. Places such as museums, zoos, and libraries are no longer relegated to just field trips. Instead, they serve as primary learning centers or schools for students. At these immersive sites, and you'll see trends popping up all over the United States, students gain immediate access to primary sources and experts in the field that serve as the basis for students' academic and creative inquiry. These experiences are limited and difficult to find around the nation. As such, this would be an opportunity for us to create a model for others to follow. In other words, we'd be the research. This innovative program would also allow students to connect to professionals that are directly related to the field that they are studying and empower students to guide their own learning, all while being able to learn information in context and not in isolation, thus creating strong connections to the content that they're actually learning. And ultimately, as seniors, students will put their knowledge and skills to the test by having internships and mentoring opportunities with professionals. So what other opportunities do they have absent that? Post-secondary opportunities. If you look at the slide in front of you, they're directly connected to several majors that aren't even created just yet. So when you think about the future opportunities of students, such as chief sustainability officers, lawyers, or urban planners, having a rich background in sustainability and environmental studies is invaluable. And it's something that we don't often think about, but it is. Universities and colleges in our state and across the country have noted this need and knowledge and experience for our students. And as a result, they've created majors and centers that focus on sustainability and environmental education. So for example, right around the corner, Virginia Wesleyan University recently opened an environmental center on campus, and it's absolutely beautiful, with learning space, laboratories, and research sites. Virginia Tech's College of Natural Resources and Environment established and maintains as Sustainability Institute to connect the classroom to the workplace. Their cohort-based program transitions students into workplace-ready professionals that are capable of solving problems and with a sustainability lens. Easy for me to say. The University of Virginia has also instituted a global environment and sustainability program that prepares our students to understand, to innovate, and to lead efforts to sustainably transform the physical environment. Old Dominion University also, for example, has a Sustainability Development Institute whose mission is to make a worthwhile and significant contribution to sustainable development through research, education, advocacy, consultancy, as well as service. These are just some of the examples of the programs that colleges and universities that our students will attend in the future and enable them to focus on sustainability and environmental studies that would allow them to pursue careers that are connected to sustainability. Some additional career opportunities for our students. And as you can see, they're listed there. But I want to share some data with you that puts things into context for life after they leave Virginia Beach Public Schools. So the demand for workers with a sustainability awareness and skillness is certainly increasing. And in fact, 93% of CEOs globally see sustainability as important to their company's future success. 62% of global business leaders think that integrating sustainability into business is their company's most important leadership challenge. And 70% of those organizations have permanently placed sustainability on their management agendas. 76% of CEOs believe that embedding sustainability into their core business will drive revenue growth as well as new opportunities. And lastly, 65% of businesses value environmental and sustainability knowledge in job candidates. And also 78% of the businesses said environmental and sustainability knowledge would grow of importance as they seek to hire students in the next 5 years. So it's certainly worth us investigating. So when we look at a location for this program, why the Bronx Center? Well, the Bronx Center does provide an outstanding location for this program to thrive. In fact, it's situated perfectly within living shorelines, multiple habitats, and approximately 3,600 species of plants and animals. It sits on 122 acres of water, tidal marsh, sandy shores, and maritime forest. And with experts on site, our students will be able to collaborate face-to-face regularly on critical thinking problems. The Chesapeake Bay Foundation is the sustainability expert agency on the East Coast. In fact, I've heard within the last couple of weeks that the Chesapeake Bay Foundation is considered the NASA of sustainability. So why a classroom at the Bronx Center? By having a classroom space at the Bronx, our students would be immersed in their learning. The learning would easily come to life and be able to assist students with learning about environmental science all throughout the school division. This dedicated space would allow for up to 50 juniors and 50 seniors to participate in the program. The schedule would be similar to that of the ATC and the Tech Center that we have, and students would split their day between their home school and the Bronx Center. And by having the space on the site, we could also use the summer to host programs for students and teachers as well. The Chesapeake Bay Foundation refers to their buildings that are similar to the Brock Environmental Center as experiments. As a 10th living building in the world, the Brock Environmental Center is not only one of the most environmentally advanced buildings in the United States, but it's also the first commercial building in the United States to capture rainwater, to be able to purify it to meet federal drinking water standards, and then use it as drinking water in the building. At the Bronx, students would have access to study all of these extraordinary building features. So what is this going to cost? This takes us to the budget that we're requesting. An annual operating budget for the program would be $257,900, and that cost does include the costs associated with transportation, one teaching coordinator who would be a 12-month employee acting as an administrator on the site. There will be one teacher, as well as all the needed materials and professional development for the program. The second piece of the budget would be the capital budget. A one-time capital expense of $1.5 million is also needed for the building. I want to pause here to create a little drama.
I'm so excited.
There. We're excited as well. We recently learned that Joan Brock committed to funding the capital project to create this opportunity for our students. It was quite exciting to sit at the table to have her share that. In fact, she is highly motivated to see this project happen, and there was a quote that she shared where she stated her age, and she would certainly like to see the project move forward before she got too old. So we're very pleased with that. That's awesome. So a little bit about the facility. This slide has a rendering of the plans for the additional classroom with the white rooftop on the right-hand side of the photo. And by adding that structure for a learning space, we would have space adjacent again to the Brock Center and would be directly connected to the experts and researchers that work with the CBF. And this would provide support to our longstanding partnership that benefits all of our students and provides a multitude of opportunities for our teachers as well as our administrators. At the last presentation, this slide, from the request from the last presentation back in 2016-17, this slide does show a breakdown of the cost per student for our academy programs, the GSA, as well as the projected cost for the environmental studies program. The ATC and TCE include staffing, transportation, and curricular costs, so that's why you notice that that's a lot different than the others. So what's the course structure? Displayed here is a sample of the course structure for a student attending the program. The two main prerequisites are for science and math. The student has to be prepared for AP Environmental Science as a junior, so they must have 3 standard credits of science completed. And additionally, Algebra 2 is a prerequisite for the course, so they must have that course completed prior to their junior year. And through full completion of this program, students are able to earn the new seal of excellence in science and environment offered by the Virginia Department of Education. And that does include them completing 50 hours of community service, their independent project, as well as the AP Environmental Science course. So what are our next steps for proposed implementation? We proposed the timeline, as you see here on this slide, with the first class of students starting during the 2020-21 school year, pending the completion of instruction, where full completion and full student participation being during the 2021-2022 school year. It seems so far away, mouthful. And we plan to bring a formal board request to you all by November of 2018. It's there. So at this time, if you have any questions, we'd be happy to offer you some answers.
Questions? Ms. Weems?
Thank you. Nice job. What a great thing about the building, 1.5 million, that's nice. Now the transportation, so the 257.9 includes the administrator and a teacher and transportation, so are there 2 adults?
Once the program is fully
Right.
up and running after the first 2 years, there will be 2 adults.
Okay, so 2 adults. That seems low. The 257 was transportation, because we just got out of the meeting where it was for an extra 100 students for the, what meeting was it?
Achievable Dreams.
Achievable Dreams, and it was 224. So this seems lower. How come? How'd you get that number so far down?
I'll have to go, James put that
Yeah, we
budget
have
together,
to.
I'll have to go back and take a quick look at it.
We'll
Yeah,
get
because
back.
because if you look at it minus those 2 salaries, it seems a little bit low. Okay.
Maybe it's because it's only 100 students.
Well, that's what we
Right.
did in Achievable Dreams just a few minutes ago, 100
Right.
students.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll get you the
Okay,
breakdown.
So that was just kind of interesting, the difference there.
Yeah, I'll get you the
You can check
breakdown.
on that, thank you.
Yep.
Miss Ryan, then Miss Manning.
So I just want to convey my gratitude to our senior staff for pursuing this wonderful, generous donation, because it did turn out to be, at the time, the deal breaker, albeit a temporary deal breaker. So thank you.
Thank you. Miss Manning.
So first, thanks to Ms. Brock for the generous donation. I guess my one concern would be how taxing this would be on our transportation department. We're already spread very thin. So, and it's not just money, it's having the bodies and the equipment to do it. So that is, I would like to have some further dialogue on that.
Sure. Is David? David's not here. And Jack won't be able to speak to it. We did have some substantive conversation about that when we first brought that forward, and at that time we felt like we could manage that, similarly to bringing on the EBA. And I think we still feel that way. We're always going to have challenges with bus drivers, but I think we feel like we can manage the program.
Could you go back to the timeline for when it would start again?
Yeah.
So are any of the students that are in school now, like say, i.e. the ninth graders, would they be eligible for this?
If they meet the prerequisite requirement and the building is finished, they should, current ninth graders should be, according to the timeline, be 11th graders during that 2020 time, if I'm not, my math is correct. I think.
Okay, I just wanted to make
This
sure
is
of
class
that.
of 2022 right now.
Right,
Okay.
okay, so that, they would be eligible, so the ninth graders would be eligible. Okay, good, that's good to know. Miss Weems?
No,
You were.
I was trying to figure out
Yeah.
what year ninth graders are going to be.
Okay, any other questions? I'm excited about this.
I'm super excited about it.
And
It's awesome.
by Joan Brock being able to come forward and build this facility, it sort of takes that roadblock that we had in there away, and I'm excited about this. I think this is something that's going to be unique. And Dr. Spence, I believe you indicated that this is kind of a unique program for us. We would be a leader in the
Yeah.
country.
This for sure would be something that's not being done anywhere else in the country, and would really put us on the front edge of environmental education. James is watching, so to your question, he texted in. So everybody say hi. He texted in, and the cost was for transportation is lower because it was planned to be a north side of the city in the morning and south side of the city in the afternoon, and so we wouldn't be running a
Okay.
full
That makes sense.
geography
Yeah.
run.
Okay,
So
very good. Thank you, James.
That's good to know.
We should have known that, though.
He
That
says
was hard
you're
to figure
welcome.
out. That was hard to
Okay. Well, I see no other questions, so
That was great.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And if I could just, before we wrap up, I do want to acknowledge these two gentlemen here walking out, Tim and Tony, actually got engaged with Mrs. Brock at a conference where we were accepting an award, and she was accepting an award, and they met and began having conversations about this project again. And so really I would say it's their leadership that got that accomplished. So
You guys.
So I think we're going to start with this next workshop. We're going to go ahead and start, but with the knowledge that at 5:30 we're probably going to break anyway, and we may have to come back later to finish if we have more questions or whatever.
Oh, this is an easy one. We'll be finished just like that.
I still have Aren't you, Kyle?
I'm glad
I
you
don't
might
have
have
mine.
a folder. I'm giving you more
Thank you.
because I don't want there to be any question about what you have or don't have.
You know as well.
I know we sure did. I noticed on this one,
Yeah.
especially on this one.
Yeah.
This could have been third. Yeah, but this one, this one I know right away. There's half a page, and there's nothing, and then there's another half a page.
All right.
So it could have been 1/3. I know.
Yeah, and I could have gone, but I said.
Oh,
you need one? Just one more.
No,
I'll get
one more.
I saw that picture. One for me and one for Shanae.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's see what we have here.
It's like a one-time event. I can't go back.
He'll have more for us though. It's in my notes. It's in my binder. Yeah.
And I will be able to.
Mine is fine. Mine is
regulate
fine.
my name is on the bills before they just. Oh, yeah.
And I should also add before we get into the school start times conversation, the partnership with the CBF is a really great partnership, and they were also instrumental in helping us to communicate with the CBF board about this possibility and about getting Mrs. Brock to the table as well. So if you happen to run into any of our local CBF board members, please thank them for their efforts as well.
Okay, I think we're ready.
Mr. Keever, straight to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Spence.
You'll let
Good evening, Chairman Anderson, Vice Chair McDonald, who's not here, but we're school board members. During our workshop this evening, we intend to provide the board with an opportunity to revisit the issue of school start times. As part of the review, I'd like to take a couple minutes to call your attention to the various items included in the information folder that you received. Most of the items in the folder were provided to the school board during various presentations in 2016 and 2017. That said, there are some new items in there that I want to call to your attention. The first item in your folder, and they're all in order, the first item is this evening's presentation. And up in the right-hand corner it says 10/23/2018. The second item in the packet, if you undo the clip, is a copy of the presentation from June 2017. And that presentation in June 2017 was a data review from the survey that we conducted.
Right.
Additionally, paperclip to that would be information on possible options that we provided to the board in July of 2017 at your retreat. And then the third item in that particular packet would be Region 2 school operating hours. Behind that information is the presentation from School Bus Consultants that was done in the 2015-16 school year, released to us in May of 2016, and subsequently shared with the board at your January 2017 retreat. That is this document here. Behind that information is a full data set from the start time survey that was done in the spring of 2017. The cover memo on top of that data set. There are 3 articles from the pilot around start times. Actually, 2 articles in the editorial from the pilot that occurred in June and July of 2017. There is information from Hanover Research, who was a partner that worked with us at the beginning of this to do a literature review. There's an infographic that Hanover Research has put together around start times. There is an updated research brief from Hanover on start times. And there is a optimal school start times literature review from Hanover, which was done in May of 2017. This was done probably 14 or 15 months after we had them do the work specifically for Virginia Beach. So this is updated information from what you received previously. Wanted to be sure you have that. Finally, in your packet, there are 3 studies that I wanted to call your attention to. Actually, the first one is not a study. It is the policy statement from the American Academy of Pediatrics. You've received this previously and had this information when we did our initial work with you. The second is an article from the Journal of School Health, which was released, I believe, in May of 2016. You have not, I don't think, previously seen this, but wanted to be sure you had that, Journal of School Health. And then a more recent study around attendance rates and graduation rates from 2017 in terms of school start times and an enhancement of graduation and attendance rates. That's a study that you might not have seen.
That's new.
That's
Yeah.
new.
Okay.
So hopefully with that, you know what's in your folder, and I'm going to go through the actual formal presentation now. As a brief reminder, first we're going to start with a brief reminder of the timeline that we previously used. I'm going to review the stakeholder survey data, because I think that's an important place for us to go, and then offer you a listing of potential next steps as a result of your conversation at the previous workshop earlier in the month. So by way of reminder, and in order to set the stage for this discussion, here are a couple of items to call back to your attention. With Dr. Spence's arrival to Virginia Beach as superintendent, the board asked administration to look at the topic of start times. During the 15-16 school year, School Bus Consultants was hired to complete a study of our transportation system with regard to potentially shifting start times. Additionally, administration worked with our partners at Hanover Research, which I previously mentioned, to commission a literature review around the relationship between school start times and academic achievement. That was the literature review that we had done, school start times and academic achievement. Both the transportation study and literature review were completed in the spring of 2016. During your retreat in the summer of 2016, there was a determination made to include start times as a discussion point in the January 2017 school board mid-year retreat. And at that time, we had School Bus Consultants come in and provide the findings from the transportation study to you. During that conversation, and in order to ensure that the board had appropriate data to determine potential next steps and continue the dialogue, the board requested a survey of stakeholder groups. That survey took place in the spring of 2017. Results from the survey were shared with you in June of 2017, and in July of 2017, during your retreat over at the TCC Student Center, the topic was revisited. During the course of that retreat, discussion ensued around the topic of start times. We provided you with 3 potential options, and it was at that point that administration was asked to look at a process to ensure that fields were lit prior to moving forward with any further dialogue. So back to the survey. Our survey was based on best practice examples. There were 3 critical parts to the survey that we did in 2017. We were trying to determine what stakeholders considered most important with looking at a preferred school schedule and seeking input on the current level of satisfaction with our school start times. We directly asked the community if there was support for determining and developing a schedule that allowed adolescent students to start later. And in the third place, determining the agreement level with specific statements around perceived positive and perceived negative impacts on start times. 3 stakeholder groups were asked to provide input on the topic. All Virginia Beach City Public School parents, all Virginia Beach City Public School staff, and students who at the time were in grades 6 through 12. The survey window in the spring of 2017 was from March 27th through April 21st. And by way of reminder, the survey formats were built on similar input sessions and other school community surveys done across the country and looking at start times. As you can see on this current slide, nearly 8,000 parents and just over 3,000 staff members completed the survey. As I mentioned to you in June of 17, parents could select multiple levels where they currently had students enrolled. 7,846 parents responded, 54% indicated they had a current elementary school child, 42% in middle school, and 45% in high school. For the staff survey, we asked the respondents to identify their current work levels as shown in the graphic. As I mentioned to you in June, and I'll point out again, I think it's worthy of consideration around the response rate. For instance, the 17-18 school calendar survey that we did garnered approximately 1,300 responses. The grading practices survey that took place garnered 1,684 responses. Student voice was also an important facet of the stakeholder survey effort. Over 20,000 students participated in the survey. Their grade levels are provided in this graphic. Please note that some students did not designate a grade level when completing the survey. Therefore, if you attempt to add the numbers up, it's not going to equal 2312, just shy of that. I do want to point out that when you combine the student voice with staff and parent participation, we received over 31,000 responses on the questions we posed around start times. As we mentioned previously, the survey was designed to help us fully understand the key factors for each stakeholder group in determining a preferred school schedule. We asked survey participants to rank, in order of importance, the most important features to them. The options provided to parents included students' health and sleep, academic performance, before-after-school care, a parent's work schedule, timing of athletic and activity events, transportation availability other than the school bus, and my child's part-time job. Staff members were given the same options with the exception of their child's part-time job. Students were provided with 4 options: health, sleep, academic performance, transportation availability, and timing of athletics and activity events. The rankings that each group provided are detailed on the slide. The red box denotes similarities across the 3 groups with regard to the top 2 items: health and sleep and academic performance. As you'll note, parents identified transportation as their 3rd highest priority, while staff ranked their work schedule as the 3rd highest priority. Students rated timing of athletics and activities as their 3rd highest priority.
That makes sense.
Transitioning from key factors in the preferred schedule, we wanted to gauge stakeholder perception around the medical research on adolescent sleep and school start times. Agreement level amongst the 3 groups to the prompt listed on the slide was 71% or better. And the parent agreement level here was 78%. As referenced in the discussion around the critical parts of the survey, determining parent and student agreement levels with the concept of being satisfied with our current school start times was an important facet of this stakeholder input. 36% of responding parents agreed or strongly agreed with the concept of being satisfied with our current start times. The agreement level decreases from 39% of elementary school parents to 31% of high school parents. For students, 66% agreed or strongly agreed with the idea of being satisfied with their current start times. Please note that we did not ask staff to respond to this item, though if applicable, they had the option to respond as a parent. Additionally, on the staff survey, there were some staff-specific questions. Of particular interest to this slide is that nearly 88% of our staff members indicated that if the operational hours of their particular school changed, they intended to remain in the same work location. For students, we asked for self-reporting on the average amount of sleep students get during the weeknights. You may recall that the largest percentage of middle school respondents indicated getting 8 or more hours, and at the high school level, the largest percentage of 28% indicated 6 or more hours.
Especially during chaos season.
On this slide, you'll note agreement levels for the stakeholder groups around the critical question of supporting an effort by the school division to develop a schedule that allows for later start times for adolescents. Overall, 71% of our parents agreed or strongly agreed with the idea, 64% of staff was in agreement, and 60% of students were in agreement. Our final area of interest in the survey comes around the perceived positive and negative impacts on the potential for a shift in start times. There was agreement around the perception that later times for adolescents could improve academic performance. 74% of parents, 68% of staff, and 66% of students agree with this idea. There was less agreement around the positive impacts for study time and homework. The highest level of agreement amongst all 3 groups, all 70% or higher, was around the idea of later start times benefiting and having a positive impact on both sleep and health. Finally, we asked about some perceptions or for potential negative impacts as well. On this slide, you'll note that from the responses, it appears that students are most concerned about the potential of negative or for negative impacts on school-based activities, athletics, etc., as well as schedules for their families, whereas parents, based on their agreement level, did not appear as concerned, and staff landed in the middle of the students and parents on these 2 prompts. That one prompt, excuse me. In July of 2017, at the school board retreat, administration presented 3 potential options for shifting start times. These options were designed to promote discussion and were drawn directly from the transportation study done by school bus consultants. You'll notice here that we have named them option A, B, and C, and I mentioned to you in July that they correspond with school bus consultants' suggestions 2, 3, and 5. You may be asking about option or scenario 1 and 4 from school bus consultants. Those are not shown here but provided to you in your packet. They were significantly more expensive based on the transportation costs that school bus consultants provided for us, as well as field lights, and therefore not included as potential options when we discussed it in 2017. That's not to say we wouldn't go back and look at those today. I also think it's important to point out that the transportation study conducted was done and provided in 2016. So we are 18 months or so from that time frame. Finally, I think you said you wanted to conclude by about 5:30, so I'm going to lay out these potential next steps and have time for a couple questions and maybe more dialogue, unless you want to hold on these next steps and break early. It's up to you.
No, go ahead.
Keep going? Okay.
I think we'll plan on asking as many as we can.
Okay.
It's possible we might want to come back and have more questions later on, if that's okay with you.
It's fine by me.
Can we go till 5:30?
I don't want you to get tired during
We
the
could
conversation.
we could go
I'm gonna start.
to as late as 5:40, okay?
Sounds good. As a conversation started for the school board, you'll note some potential next steps around start times on this slide. Based on the request during the last workshop, we are presenting the topic for discussion tonight. As appropriate, the board could take action during November to direct administration that start times for adolescent students will be later, beginning in September 2020. If directed to develop a plan for change times, administration will work in the winter and spring of this particular school year to engage the community in dialogue to develop the best possible options for shifting the times. Not whether or not the time should shift, but what those times might look like. This would likely include focus groups and community forums. By July of 2019, administration would bring forward a recommendation on specific changes for the board to review and subsequently approve. During the 1920 school year, a comprehensive communication plan would help ensure the community is prepared for implementation in September of 2020. Further, the potential timeline as provided on this slide will allow time for us to budget for and have further discussion around field lights in the next couple of fiscal years. As such, I'm ready to participate and answer questions and or allow the board to discuss.
Okay, who'd like to go first? Ms. Melnick?
I think I asked this at the retreat, but the governor's school, that shift would be just as easy to get them in the second round or whatever it is they do. They have two different start times
Yeah.
for governor's
Well,
school.
they're already dealing with different start times around
Yeah,
the region,
yeah.
so it's not a problem for them.
So it won't overload one more than the other. Okay.
They just have to make the adjustment.
Mr. Edwards?
A process question. Do we, carry this forward and do a vote in November? An info in November and then a vote later on in November?
That would be our recommendation. That's what we have listed as a next step, is in November taking action
Right, okay.
for the board. So we
The
would,
second meeting of November, take action.
Yeah, that's,
similar to what we would propose to do with the environmental studies program, put it on for information, and this on for information, and then action at the end of November.
as a reminder, then that will give us two more opportunities to kick this ball around the field, so.
Ms. Weems?
Thank you, Mr. Keeper. I know I've been a thorn in your side on this issue.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said I've been a thorn in your side on this issue. Yeah, you didn't hear that. But no, I appreciate all the information, the new stuff, and I really like and appreciate the potential of the next steps.
Yeah.
That we're still gonna vote on it first, and we're gonna have so much, community with the winter and the spring, to make sure that all of our people know. And so I really appreciate the next steps, and that it's not gonna happen tomorrow, and then we're gonna get community input. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
I do like that
Thank
too.
you.
I think
It was excellent.
putting it up front that we plan on having community input if we so vote to do so, to move
To
forward
choose
with
the
this.
way that it's gonna
Correct.
change. Like I
We
said.
want to be super clear.
Right, yeah,
Right.
we're gonna
The way
change.
it's
Yeah,
It
we're
is.
gonna change it, but it's gonna do different ideas of how we're gonna.
Correct.
If we get that right, yeah.
Right.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Manning?
I agree. That was what I was going to say. I love the timeline. Excellent job. Question on option A. I don't recall why we need 3 extra buses. Can you explain that? or get me an answer at some point. I know
It's
Mr.
in
Reese
the-
isn't here.
It's in the
It's in
study.
the actual comprehensive study in terms of,
That you have?
and so as school bus consultants laid the report out, they looked at the different runs that take place, how those runs occur over the course of the entire day, and by their work directly with our routing system, which I think is EduLog, and I might have that wrong, but I think it's EduLog where we route our systems. They anticipated that we would need 3 additional buses based on the structure of tiers. So the same thing holds with option B, based on the way the tiers may go, that's when we need additional buses.
Is there a chance that this number has changed since 2016?
I think there is a possibility that that number has changed.
So that's something that we'll be looking at.
We would need to look at that. Yes, ma'am.
And then something that I would like to point out when I was looking at the surveys, which I was really surprised by, because I was really concerned about how elementary school parents are going, how they feel about this and how it's going to impact them. But on the elementary school survey regarding I support an effort by BBCPS to develop a schedule that allows later school start times for adolescent children, only 17% disagreed or strongly disagreed. So I thought that was interesting. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? So we have time, if you come up with some questions or, you can always, I guess we could always email and so that you could have that ready for us
On the
for
agenda.
for information next time.
Yeah.
Right,
We'll
so,
add it to the agenda.
okay. We are, I think this finishes up our workshops for today.
It does.
Oh, thank you.
Mrs. Weems? Carolyn,
Mrs. Weems,
you want to do this?
okay. So we are, we will recess and reconvene at 6 o'clock on the dais.
I was
In
trying
the school board room.
It's been at least 25 years that we switched.